Our Super Bowl 48 coverage rolling right along here. Radio Road, Hotel Sheraton, or Sheraton Hotel, however you want to look at it. Darren McFarland, Brad Hopkins, Derek Mason with you. All of our coverage this week brought to you by the folks at Low T Centers of Nashville. Guys, let's lighten this thing up a little bit. I mean, we've been X's and O's. And
we can only make so much fun of Derek Mason, so we've got to entertain ourselves in other ways.
We got to think of some new subject matter.
Derek Mason, you're on my fantasy team.
There we go.
When was this, back in the 80s?
It's been a while.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We could have started off with Low T and got into that one.
Nice. Wow. Wait a minute. Derek's one packing the jokes. Nice. Let's bring in somebody who gets paid to actually tell jokes. He's a comedian, writer, and I'm just going to start off right out of the gates by butchering your name. Just call me Sam. Costaki Economopolis?
No, yeah. Economopolis.
Okay, close. It wasn't bad.
Economopolis.
Economopolis.
So, Costaki, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Comedian/writer. That entails what?
Yeah, man, it's the full gamut. I've written for everybody. I've been floating around telling jokes. I used to write for the Complete Sheet. Do you guys get the Complete Sheet? It's a prep service. No? Sometimes radio guys light up. We love the Complete Sheet. I grew up in Georgia. I'm an Atlanta boy.
Oh, okay.
I grew up named Costaki Economopolis in Atlanta. That was a little
That
rough.
probably worked well, huh?
Yeah. So I got a whole lot of...
So you had a nickname. What was your nickname?
Oh, man, I've heard them all. Suzuki, Snuffleupagus, and Kawasaki Econo Lodge. And
now we see where your
Kabuki Metropolis.
Comedic
yeah, I had no choice,
where it comes
man.
from. Yes.
Yeah, it was a defense mechanism. So yeah, I've been a full-time stand-up for about 20 years, and now I live here in New York, and it's been fun, man. This is great. I do a thing called Quick Snaps. It's all NFL jokes, so this is the perfect home for me to wander around and talk to everybody. It's
now, how
fun.
many? Now, have you? Because I know when we were playing, we usually during two-a-days to kind of lighten it up, we were bringing comedians and they would tell jokes. Have you ever? How many? If you have played or been in venues like that, how many venues have you been in? And which one was what's the funnest for you? Or most interesting?
Most fun. Oh, man. I just got my 50th state this summer. I did Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
20 years, 50 states. I took my girl there and actually proposed to her, and we got married
congrats.
since then. Yeah.
Did she think it was a joke?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
A+
Brad.
for timing. That was
Brad jumping in there
Brad,
with material.
very good timing.
And I don't get paid for this.
Pretty good content, but fantastic timing. The most fun, I got to say, the Bob and Tom tour dates are fun because that's a big show in the Midwest. And when you're in Indiana or Ohio or Iowa and you're a Bob and Tom guy, they live, breathe, and die Bob and Tom. And we're sometimes doing like 2,500 people in these beautiful old renovated theaters, and they just can't wait to see you. They already know you before you start. That's a big thing for comics. There's a big gap between a guy you never heard of and you wander into a club and you're like, all right, let's see if we like this guy. And I already like him before I buy a ticket. So in Bob and Tom markets, I've gotten to that level, and it totally changes the game. It makes it fun.
So tell us how this works, because at least for me, I'll speak for myself. When a Richard Sherman post-game interview happens, when that moment happens, I say, well, I have to push my family aside because now I have to get on Twitter and watch the jokes, because it's like cue up the jokes. It's zanies. It's, pick any comedian, improv. Twitter is there. So how is somebody who actually does this for a living, how do they handle those type of situations?
Well, that's what's great about those moments, because they're the moments that everybody knows, and then you can have like a common situation. That doesn't happen very often. Usually you have to kind of set up the thing to make sure everyone's on the same page. Like last week I was doing Kellen Winslow Jr. jokes, and not everybody knew that story. So you got to kind of lay it out. He was in a parking lot, and a white lady said, what's going on with the weather? And then she saw something and called the police. So then you got to kind of set it up a little, and then you get to the jokes. I'm surprised that happened, by the way. He doesn't even get up for the games. And the cops didn't catch him in the act, so they couldn't technically charge him with carjacking. But he said he was looking for Boston Market? Really? Is that I like Boston Market too, but calm down. We'll get there. They say there's no such thing as bad publicity. What say you, Boston Market? So a joke like that, you got to set it up. But when Richard Sherman goes off, everybody sees that moment, and so it's easier to talk about. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I want to see Richard Sherman's rematch with Erin Andrews. I want to see her bring it this time, right? I'm the best sideline reporter in the game. When you try me with a sorry ranter like Sherman, that's the result you're going to get. I'd like to see that. I want to see them at it. I think that'd be fun. Sherman said thug is the new N-word, which just proves football players are bad at spelling. There's no N in thug.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that too rough?
No.
All right. And I'm from Atlanta. I never loved the name Sherman in the first place. You know?
Let me ask you this, Costaki. As far as content,
Yeah.
I mean, does sports give you a big enough venue to find some funny content?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when you're looking at the broader world, you can pick from anything. And now, when you're down to the Super Bowl, there's one game. You better have some funny stuff happen, or you're in big trouble. But the other side of it is everybody sees everything. So then you can make fun of, like, the Old Spice ads and every little beat, because everybody saw the same game. So, yeah, you can do it. It's fun. I mean, most weeks, this is the hardest week of all, because all I had was the Pro Bowl. That's the only game that happened since the last week, right? But the Pro Bowl's fun too. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no tackling in a football game. That's like basketball with no dunking. Wait, we have that. It's called the WNBA.
Hold on, though. Brittany Griner.
Yeah,
Brittany Griner
Griner.
go down. Yeah.
Lisa Leslie dunked before.
Occasionally.
There's Brad's man crush.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man crush? You better leave Brad alone. That's Brittany.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I do
So-
like Brittany. She's cool.
So this is Super Bowl XLVIII. That's what
If you say so.
It's ridiculous. What is that? Tony Saragusa's shirt size?
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, Tony, we didn't say that.
Okay, you know what? Now that you say that, because Tony can take the punches.
Oh,
but
yeah.
have you ever said a joke about somebody that they didn't take too well?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Now, that doesn't mean it's not happening out there. Somebody hears something and, slams the door or something, but I'm not around. I actually hung with Matt Stafford at the last Super Bowl for a little while, and I was doing a bunch of Lions jokes. And he went to Georgia, and I went to Georgia, so we kind of bonded. And I told him all the Lions jokes I was doing. He laughed. At the time, they were 5-0 at the beginning of the season. And I go, man, the Lions haven't done this well since the Christians, right? They haven't had this good a run.
Oh, my goodness.
The Lions they had a perfect season recently, right? There were 16 games. They lost 16 of them. Right? Baby blue and white, same team colors as the handicap. Coincidence?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no.
You said this in front of Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
That wasn't making fun of him. I was telling him the jokes that I'll sometimes do on the road.
Yeah.
So tell me, what comedian have you either written for or worked with that has been, has been sort of an inspiration for you?
Oh, you know what? Here's a weird answer. Ricky Smiley. I wrote for Ricky Smiley. You know
okay.
Ricky? Yeah. I wrote for Ricky at BET. Ricky Smiley.
He used to do a lot in the Detroit area.
Right.
The Syndicate Channel, yeah.
Right. He is the king of that universe, man. I'm not sure he could walk into a white comedy club and do that well because he's so specific. But what's amazing about Ricky, we could give him like C+ material and he would turn it into an A. He's like a freakish performer. And it's a pleasure for a writer, when somebody adds layers to what you have on the page. It's like, it's amazing. I wrote some stuff for Jay Leno, and it's kind of amazing to be I'm telling jokes at some chuckle hut in Nebraska. I write some jokes and fax them in. That's how long ago it was. It was a fax machine. And
by the way, you're motioning a typewriter.
yeah, I know. Ding!
It was a fax machine.
Hey, Darren, look.
Very sad.
Even he laughed at you.
That's a funny line, man. So, to see somebody like Jay do a joke that, in that moment, I was talking to 200 people. In that moment, Jay's talking to 4+ million,
How tough is it? I think we take advantage, and we're just around the corner from Letterman's studio. These guys that have to get out there, those late-night shows, and get out there and basically do a stand-up act every night. How difficult is that?
It's hard, man.
Because you have to have fresh material every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. What the late night guys do, they catch a lot of guff when they're not nailing it, but what they do is amazing. Just to get all of those words in your mouth and know where the beats are on jokes that you didn't do yesterday is really hard. Jay Leno will occasionally do some jokes that you're like, come on, Jay, what are you doing? That's awful. But he does every night. He has at least a few jokes that are like, wow, that's a good joke. And just to be able to tell 20 jokes that have the right sort of rhythm and flow and beat to them is really hard to do.
So how do you evaluate? We've seen the athletes attempt this, right? Peyton Manning's been on SNL. Tom Brady's been on SNL. I mean, you see they have sometimes the commercials that obviously get a good laugh. How do you judge maybe some of the athletes that try to be funny outside of their world?
Yeah, Peyton's a real natural. I think that's why he's been so successful as a pitchman, right? He's got chops. Some people just have chops. It's amazing to me that athletes have broadcasting chops. Like you guys doing this, I mean, there are guys that spend their whole lives trying to figure this out, and you guys had a whole career in something else first, and now you're succeeding at this. That's really impressive to me. I was watching Schlereth yesterday. Sometimes when you see somebody who's good at broadcasting, you just have to stop and go, wow, this guy's smooth. He's really good at what he does. And I've been working on speaking for a living the whole time. I didn't have a 20-year window where I was playing football and then started this. So I'm really impressed with guys who can do that.
So why are you so attracted to comedy? Is there something about you that wants to entertain people? You just like to see people laugh? I mean, what is it about that emotion of laughter?
It's a good question. I think when you watch – like if you watch a sitcom, you laugh, I don't know, a handful of times in a half an hour. If you watch a good comic, it's like every 8 seconds. It's such a condensed, pure form because they get to do it over and over and over again. So it gets really polished,
Is the edgy comedy something that you feel that people gravitate towards? Seth MacFarlane, his writing is one of the, I think he's a guy above his time.
Yeah.
But he is on the cusp of being, offensive and some other things.
Right.
I mean, first off, how do you label that comedy? And is that something you find attractive?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I love dark comedy. So for me,
dark comedy.
Yeah, when I'm doing a comedy on stage, I kind of feel out what happens in the room. And that's the magic and the horror of stand-up. You know immediately how it's going, right? So you can shift gears. And, that's one of the things a good comic does is you're calling audibles as you go. Like, oh, okay, that direction ain't the right way to go tonight. And then you shift gears and go this way. And sometimes you're in a mode where you're just going to do what you're going to do, whether they're with you or not. And that's a choice, too. But
that's an interesting balance because on this show, what we're doing right now, we know we have a certain line that we can only go up to.
Right.
And if we go past that, we're going to get a phone call, an email. We're going to be in somebody's office.
Right.
But comedians really don't have lines.
That's true.
But I'm sure every comedian has to wrestle with what is their line. How far are they willing to go with things? I mean, it's pretty clear if you've seen Lisa Lampanelli, I think her line is the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, I don't think she has a line.
It's nowhere nearby.
But, right.
Yeah.
So how do you balance where your line is?
That's a great question, too. For me, I agree with George Carlin when he said, you can joke about anything. It's all in the perspective of the joke. It's in the angle of the joke. And he goes on to the extreme and talks about rape and some other subjects. And I think you can do those subjects as long as you're coming from a good place with it. So for me, I don't think there's anything that's off limits. But comics don't have limits in terms of, like, we're allowed to do corporate funny and we can cuss and we can do things that you can't do on radio or television. But you're also only coming back if you make the crowd laugh really hard.
You got any black jokes? No?
I don't think I do have any black jokes.
Now, are you ever around the house? Are you ever around the house?
I've never seen the comedian get a little uncomfortable.
I was a little uncomfortable. I was like, I did the N-word joke earlier, and that was
a heckler moment right there.
Hey!
Tell us a black joke.
Are you ever around the house and out of the blue you just laugh and the wife is like, what are you laughing at? You just start laughing for no reason.
Usually that's when I get my pen out. Okay, I got something here. Yeah. They asked Bob Dylan how he got to be such a great writer, and he said, it's not that I'm such a great writer. It's that I always have a pen with me.
Wow.
Right?
Smart.
So part of it's a matter of you think thousands of thoughts in a day. It's the skill of knowing what's useful later. Right?
Oh, wow.
Pull out 2 or 3 things and save those and build on those for another time.
That's like a coach having the little microphones and always talking into it, and then come back later to see what he can kind of pull out of it. So.
Yep. Hey, thanks for doing this. We needed a little bit of a break from X's and O's, and
it's
always fun to laugh.
You guys are great. Seriously.
Really weren't sure what we would get when you sat down. You're supposed to be in a Super Bowl, but you are very funny.
Oh, you're very kind, man. I appreciate it. You guys are doing a great show here.
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good
Costaki, Econopolis.
Economopolis.
Something like
Come
that.
on.
Economopolis.
We're like old friends now.
Econo Lodge, man.
Wow, Derek's throwing the barbs.
We'll take a break and we'll be back.